Hello! Now, the world's greatest minds have tried to answer humanity's biggest questions with varying degrees of success. But now it's our turn. Welcome to Finally the Meaning of Life. Hello, Dave.
Hello, Mark.
Are you ready for some thinking and a bit of fun while thinking?
I will certainly give it my best shot at the thinking part.
That's quite hard for us, isn't it? But we do try.
We do our best.
And if you haven't listened before, we don't come up with these questions. We ask the AI to tell us what it thinks are humanity's biggest questions. So it comes up with the questions and we do our very best to answer them. So the first question that the AI has come up with is this. If emotions had theme songs, what would play every time you felt awkward? That's very interesting. I like that. I like the AI, the fact that the AI has deemed that important.
Is that one of the first things it came up with?
Because, it did. Obviously, things like world peace are not as important as coming up with a theme song that would play every time you felt awkward.
It must have been trained on sitcoms or something like that. I think you should go first.
Okay.
This is a tricky one.
So, my theme song in any awkward situation would be, maybe I was in court or something, maybe I've been arrested and, they were waiting for my evidence and I walked up into the dock or something. And this is what they'd play. They'd play Rod Stewart's If You Want My Body and You Think I'm Sexy. So imagine the picture, right? Serious court case. I'm not a criminal. I just want to put that out there. I'm not a criminal. But I was thinking of an embarrassing situation. So, if you get arrested and you end up in court, I'm guessing that's quite embarrassing. So I have to walk through the court up to the witness box. I'm there. And on that walk up to the witness box, they're playing Rod Stewart, If You Want My Body and You Think I'm Sexy. And just to remind you, maybe you don't know that song, but I'm sure you do. But here are the lyrics delivered, not singing, but just, So I'm walking up to the dock and if you want my body and you think I'm sexy, come on, sugar, tell me so. If you really need me, just reach out and touch me. Come on, honey, tell me so. So the question is, do you think the judge would smile and reduce my sentence in that situation?
It's a resounding no from me, Mark. I'm not sure judges are well known for their sense of humour. Although, from what I've heard, they do like to touch people. So at least.
So if I'm trying to defend myself in a case where I haven't paid my parking fines, you think I'd probably get about 20 years if that theme song was playing?
I think you certainly get the maximum penalty. I'm not sure if unpaid parking fines warrant a 20-year sentence. But my question would be, what if they took you up on the offer? What if they did think you were sexy and wanted to then touch your body? Would you follow through?
What, the judge? You think the judge would...
in order to reduce your sentence,
I'd have to let the judge touch me.
Yes.
This is going into areas I didn't foresee when I thought of that answer. I didn't. No, I wouldn't. No, I think actually, okay. So you're saying, would I trade my dignity for, say, a couple of years off my sentence?
Yes, indeed. Yeah.
That's a question I don't think I could possibly answer.
Well, I think the question is, how much dignity would you be trading when you're inside prison as well? That's the if you're in a
oi, get off my dignity.
A white collar facility, then you'd probably be okay. So if it's unpaid parking tickets, yeah, I thought this might be an offer. This is why
Do you know where it could really go wrong? If you're at the doctor's and they want to perform an examination So you have to take off your clothes. That would be, you'd feel awkward then, wouldn't you? And then the theme song started playing again. If you want my body and you think I'm sexy, and there's a doctor. I mean, he would standing there with some kind of prodding device or something.
Just pulling on the latex gloves.
Yeah. And he'd look at you and he'd go, "Oh."
Well, I think then the doctor would feel more awkward than you did.
Yes, and then his theme song would start playing, and it'd just be a cacophony of sound, wouldn't it?
That's it. Nobody'd be able to get any work done in that situation.
Perhaps he would be playing Frank Sinatra's "I Did It My Way." So, Dave, what would your song be? So let's remind people of what the question is. If emotions had theme songs, what would play every time you felt awkward?
Well, I think I'd have to go with Monty Python's "Always Look on the Bright Side of Life." I think that would kick in, and whatever situation you were in, all of a sudden it wouldn't feel quite so awkward, because I think whoever else was with you would just look at it and sort of smile a little bit. It would become more comic than it would awkward.
That's quite upbeat, though, isn't it? That is really nice.
Well, yeah. I mean, I don't know what you've realised you haven't turned off your microphone whilst going to the toilet or something whilst you've been on a Teams call, and you come back onto the call, and everybody's looking at you after you've made the most disgusting toilet noises possible. And then all of a sudden, "Always Look on the Bright Side of Life" kicks in, and everyone will have a chuckle.
You just stand there, even though everyone's been listening to you peeing, and you just have to smile, wouldn't you? You just have to sit there and smile while "Always Look on the Bright Side" was playing.
Yeah.
It gives you that moment of time, doesn't it, to let the moment transform back to normal life.
I think it takes the sting out of it, doesn't it? Out of the embarrassment.
I'm sorry, I thought you meant it takes the sting out of peeing, but
are we back to the prostate exam again now? We've come full circle.
So yet again, I think we've solved that AI dilemma, that question, for which we don't expect payment from humanity, although payment would be nice. So let's move on to the next one. The next question is, why do we trust people in lab coats but not people in wizard robes? Now, you're the sensible one of this pairing, aren't you? So you're probably going to say it's because people in lab coats are usually, not always, but usually scientists. And scientists tend to know what they're doing. Whereas people in wizard robes, they're usually involved in some kind of cosplay or auditioning for Harry Potter, aren't they?
Actually, if I see people in lab coats coming towards me, I start to feel a little bit nervous. Why?
I'm the opposite. If I see somebody in a wizard robe coming towards me, I feel nervous.
I guess in either case, I feel slightly nervous, but I guess it's depending on the context. If I'm at Comic-Con or maybe a Lego convention, and somebody comes up in a wizard costume, I just think, this is a nice, playful person.
The thing is, why shouldn't we trust people in wizard robes? Because I don't read a lot of fantasy stuff, but as far as I can make out, they usually do good stuff, people in wizard robes, don't they? Like wizards. Wizards are usually the people that wear wizard robes. Don't they do good stuff?
I think in fantasy novels they do, but in real life, their abilities are somewhat unproven. I think that's the issue. So I've never seen a wizard do something good in real life, except maybe entertain a child. And again, if I saw a person in a wizard robe come up to me and say, "Hey, I'm good at entertaining children. Do you want to let them go off with me?" I don't think I'd trust that person in that moment. But likewise, if a person in a lab coat came up to me and said, I'm good at experiments. Can I take your child with me? I don't think I trust them in that moment either. So I think this is a situational one,
So you're assuming that the person in a wizard robe isn't actually a wizard?
I think that's a reasonable assumption, Mark. I don't know about you. How many real wizards have you met?
Well, not many, but I'm not ruling it out. And you're also making the assumption that somebody in a lab coat is actually a scientist.
If I see a person in a lab coat in a laboratory doing some sort of experiment, I will trust that person in the lab coat is probably competent at their job. But otherwise, why is a lab coated person wearing their lab coat outside of a lab?
This is what worries me.
It's to manipulate you.
If you see them in the street and they're still wearing their lab coat, you're going to think straight away they're spreading some new virus, aren't you?
Yeah.
Whereas,
or they're showing off. Look at me, I'm a scientist.
Whereas, if you see a wizard walking down the street in his robes, you're not necessarily going to think he's spreading any kind of new virus, are you? I mean, he could be doing it. I really wish I'd read more Harry Potter at this point, but I haven't read any. So, have you read any books about wizards?
I've read Lord of the Rings and I've seen the Harry Potter films.
So what do wizards do in Harry Potter and in Lord of the Rings?
Oh, it depends if they're the good wizards or the bad wizards. But the bad wizards generally create mischief and build armies. And the good wizards also build armies to fight against them, actually. That's pretty much all they do, both.
That's pretty good, though. I mean, the world is in quite a perilous situation at the moment, isn't there, with Ukraine and whatnot. And so I think Keir Starmer's just announced that he's increasing defence spending in this country. But if he actually got wizards, they would create armies for him, so he wouldn't need to increase spending.
That's true. They would start with some, parlor tricks, obviously, to get people invested, and then create an army. I mean, Dumbledore created an army of school children. I'm not sure we want to be advocating that, but there were others involved, but mainly school children. Now you've got me thinking. I mean, maybe if Keir Starmer had worn wizard robes to his recent meeting with Trump,
yes,
I think that would have impressed Trump.
I think it would.
I think he would have impressed by that.
I think he would have built a theme park in Greenland featuring Keir Starmer in a wizard robe.
I think Trump would have probably just believed that Starmer was a wizard.
He might have done. Yeah.
He probably thinks that all people in England are either wizards or Robin Hood or some sort of bandit. That's what I think Trump thinks of the UK.
I never thought we'd delve into politics. This is very enlightening.
It's probably an aside we didn't need, but I just think it'd been hilarious seeing Keir Starmer sat next to Trump in the Oval Office dressed as Gandalf.
Oh,
floppy wizard's hat. That would have been brilliant.
Well, now we're friends with AI. I'm sure AI could do that and then publish it on the Guardian website or the Times or the Washington Post, and a kind of exclusive from this podcast that Keir Starmer was in the White House wearing wizard robes.
In answer of this question, we trust neither or both, depending on the situation.
Well, yes, I think we trust people in lab coats sometimes. But I mean, personally speaking, I trust people in wizard robes more. But I don't think that's general consensus, but that's my opinion.
Okay. And I trust people in lab coats if they're doing experiments, but not if they're spreading viruses in the street.
Fantastic. There you go, AI. I hope you're listening, AI, and you can take that on board. Okay. So on to the next question posed by AI for Mark and Dave to solve. And this question is, if aliens showed up tomorrow, what's the most embarrassing thing about humanity that we'd have to explain? Dave.
Okay. Now, funny enough, I saw a program over Christmas, and it was about like the 100 most successful TikTokers, and one of these TikTokers, they had thousands, like tens of thousands of subscribers, and millions of views. And what they posted were videos of him biting vacuum cleaner parts, and recording the sound. And apparently millions of people watch this. It's kind of, I forget the acronym, it's like this ASMR or something like that, the sensory.
Oh yes,
sensory.
So they get the microphone really close, don't they? So you get the sound in great detail, and that's meant to either excite you or soothe you.
Absolutely. And he was biting the hoses of vacuum cleaners, the brushes and things like this. So and that, I think, how do you explain that to an alien? Well, and where did he start? Did you think he started straight on the vacuum cleaner, or did he go around his house maybe with the kettle first and start biting?
I think I've got this one right. I think this is epic. He was vacuuming his house, wherever, right? And in throwing up bits of dirt, there was a bit of banana got thrown up by the brushes. It didn't actually go into the vacuum cleaner; it got thrown up and ended up on the pipe, right? And he thought, "Oh, I'm actually rather hungry," and but God, can't eat that banana. It's on, been on the floor, and now it's on the vacuum pipe. But I'm really hungry. So what he did was he actually bit the kind of vacuum pipe while trying to eat the banana, and then he went, "You know what? What a TikTok channel that would make." It's the only explanation I can think of.
It's certainly an explanation. I don't know. Maybe it's a kink his girlfriend's got or something.
Yeah, baby. Yeah. Can you just? No, it's not working out for me tonight, baby. But could you go to the cupboard if you bring out the vacuum cleaner? He's going, oh, okay. And do you want any attachments? Not really. No. Just but it's a bit big, isn't it? Those brushes and whatnot. No, I want that. Okay. So where do you want me to stick it? No, I don't want you to stick it anywhere. I want you to bite it. You're imagining it. I could see your face. You were actually imagining that, weren't you?
You've put this off. It's like saying don't think about a pink elephant or whatever. You put that imagery in my mind, and now for all our listeners, then they were imagining that scene of this guy.
Well, I've actually ruined your sex life completely now, haven't I? Because the very next time, this is like hypnosis, isn't it? You look into my eyes, look into my eyes. The very next time you get intimate with your wife, you're going to be thinking vacuum cleaners.
I grab the Dyson.
Grab that Dyson.
Grab it, baby.
Bite it. Oh no, the brushes. You've bitten the brushes.
Oh, I love the way they tickle.
Not going to tickle if you're biting them, are they? Unless they go up your nose. If you get your teeth really into the brushes, maybe a few bits go up your nose.
Yeah. Well, if was it on? Is it on or off? That's the other thing.
Oh yeah.
But I guess it's certainly when he's biting it, it's not on, because that would deprive people of the wonderful sound of his teeth on plastic.
Probably deprive him of his teeth, full stop. So
he did have very good teeth, this guy.
Did he?
Yeah, he might insure them. People insure their hands if they're hand models.
Well, maybe that's the secret to good teeth then. I mean, forget this toothpaste nonsense. All you have to do is bite onto... I can't imagine the actual pipe would be good for your teeth, but maybe the brushes.
So rather than buying these expensive electric toothbrushes, we should just be putting our face up to the carpet extension of our vacuum
Exactly,
cleaner.
because I mean, those toothbrushes, they vibrate, don't they? I mean, I know some spin round and some just kind of vibrate the brushes.
Yeah.
So vibrating vacuum cleaner brushes, and it probably take you less time to clean your teeth because there are lots more brushes on a vacuum cleaner, aren't there, than on a mini little toothbrush.
Well, I think the density of brushes is higher on an electric toothbrush. You have to think about it, but the electric toothbrush doesn't have suction. You know, that's the other. You know, the vacuum cleaner is going to. You're not going to have to worry about spitting out your toothpaste or those bits stuck between your teeth. You'd have a high power function that's just basically brushing and sucking all of the spinach out from between your teeth. So I think you're onto something here.
I think so. I think not only have we answered that question, but we provided a solution to a question that hasn't even been asked yet.
Absolutely, which is where next for the design of electric toothbrushes.
But Dave, a little word. You did mention the word suction. I'm not sure any respectable podcast should ever mention the word suction. Not that we're a respectable podcast, but anyway, that's another problem, another question answered in the great philosophy of life. Wow. I bet the AI actually feels privileged to be working with us.
Absolutely.
Do you know what I've just realized? I haven't answered.
I had noticed that. I thought you were ducking the question, but I didn't want to pull you up on it in case you were too embarrassed yourself to answer the question.
Well, I did think of one answer, but then I thought that's just rude and naughty. And you've done the rude thing now, haven't you, with your suction? So I'm going to say, if aliens showed up, remember the question is, if aliens showed up tomorrow, what's the most embarrassing thing about humanity we'd have to explain? Okay, so we invent lots of great things and whatnot, but there's an item of furniture that I can never work out why it was invented. And that is the poof, or as we used to call it growing up, because we thought it would be fancier and more exotic. We called it the poufet.
The poufet.
Yeah, the poufet. But it was only years later that I discovered the rest of the world, the entire world actually calls it a poof, I think. And it's basically a big cushion, isn't it? It's a cushion with structure. Yeah?
Yes, indeed. For resting your feet on.
Oh, is that what it's for? You see, growing up,
maybe a cute name, you didn't know what it was for. The purpose of a poof is.
But that's a footstool. No, yeah. Surely that's different.
Well, it's different design.
But growing up, what we used the poof for was sitting on, and all it did was give you a bad back. I mean, I was very young then, but it gave me a bad back because it's a well, to start with, it doesn't lift you very much off the floor. And there's no backrest. So what is the point? But you've illuminated it now because you've made me realize it's actually, but it's not, because a footstool is different to a poof. Else it would be called a footstool.
It's just a different type of footstool. A footstool is a firm, wooden say object on which you can put your feet. And I guess some people just find that, when you put your feet on a footstool, it can give you sore heels or push on your Achilles tendon. So they then came up with this idea of a poof, which is a softer, more comfortable style of footstool. But I think inadvertently you've answered the question in a different way. So one of the most embarrassing things about humanity we'd have to explain is that people buy poofs, call them poufets, and don't even know what they're for.
Oh, there you go. So, new area for the podcast there. We've actually answered, due to my own stupidity, I've answered this question not by providing an answer, but just by being me. So, fantastic. Oh, my goodness. There are so many layers to this podcast. Like we were talking about on the first one, about these nuggets of wisdom. They're not always apparent, but they're always there. If you look or if you listen hard enough. So, keep listening very intently, people, because, that's what you'll find. You'll get more out of the podcast if you do that. Excellent. Thanks for pointing that out, Dave. Thanks for pointing out my stupidity in making it a feature of the podcast.
You're very welcome, Mark. Very welcome.
Yeah. Thank you. I'm going to rip off my headphones and let you do the rest of the podcast on your own now. Right. The next question. Okay. So here we go. What's something people pretend to like just to seem sophisticated? I think the AI is having trouble with its English. What's something people pretend to like just to seem sophisticated?
Okay. Well, there's a couple of answers I could give to this, but I'm going to go with jazz music.
Oh, do you know the irony of this? Because the answer I've got is also music related.
Oh, no.
Yeah, it is. Now, go on then. So why jazz? What have you got against jazz?
Well, jazz is just a collection of mistakes. Just to, and I know the guys from Spinal Tap are here on the same page as I am. So I think I'm treading safe ground. But
what do they say in Spinal Tap? It's just going wrong. It's playing instruments and going wrong.
Exactly. It's just mistake after mistake. It's wildly roaming across the fretboard or the notes on a trumpet, and occasionally finding the right note. But if you hit that many notes in succession, you're going to find the right note eventually. And people sit there and they listen to it because they think they're supposed to. Because they think that by saying I listen to jazz,
who do you know? Who do you know who listens to jazz?
Well, nobody, because I don't know anyone sophisticated.
Who do you know that thinks of himself as sophisticated, or tries to think of himself, despite all the contrary evidence, tries to give the image of being sophisticated? Who do you know that's like that?
Oh, I don't know. I really don't know. I avoid these type of people.
Unfortunately, you agreed to do podcasts with some of them.
Well, so, I wasn't about to say that, Mark, but as I upset you already on the last question, I thought...
The best defense of jazz I've seen recently, it's not a very sophisticated one, but it's in the film La La Land. Have you ever seen the movie La La Land?
I have not yet. I hear it's good thing.
Well, yes, good ending, because I like it because it's not a happy ending. I hate films with happy endings. So anyway, he says he's trying to convince his girlfriend about the merits of jazz, and she doesn't get it. And he says, look, you've got to listen to it. It's a conversation between instruments. And, he illustrates this with the band performing on stage. And that's my favorite. I mean, it loses me when it gets a bit experimental. And I don't really like the New Orleans jazz easy, which sounds a bit ish to me, but I kind of like it. But now the question is, am I liking it just to appear sophisticated? Because a lot of sophisticated people do listen to jazz, don't they?
Well, that's the question. Are they really sophisticated? But yeah, it's interesting about this idea of a conversation. I think sometimes it's interesting to listen to people's conversation, but most of the time they're talking shit. So,
So basically, your opinion of jazz is it's the musical equivalent of people talking shit.
Does that make it the musical equivalent of this podcast, Mark?
Yes, we have a lot in common with jazz music. Therefore, people who if you're listening to us right now, that makes you sophisticated, because we have a lot in common with jazz, because we are people talking shit, not the musical equivalent. We are the genuine article of people talking shit.
You're genuinely talking shit.
Yeah.
So, Mark, how would you address this question then?
Well, you see, again, it's musical and it's opera. Now, yes, exactly. And I think this is even more so than jazz. And I get that people who sing opera have got very powerful voices. I mean, it's absolutely amazing. If you've heard an opera singer sing live, you know, they don't need a microphone, any fancy stuff like that. They're just, it's awesome. But when I was at college, I had a lecturer in audio who was actually, you see, I thought I was being wrong not to like opera, because especially when you're a student, and I was a student of media and culture and that kind of thing, I was a bit embarrassed that I didn't like opera. I liked dance, and I liked fine art and sculpture and obviously theatre and films. I liked all that, but I couldn't get into opera, and I was quite embarrassed at that. But our lecturer in audio, he was actually, I won't mention his name, but he was a composer, and he composed the scores for like BBC costume dramas, among other things, right? And he confided to us that he loved music with dance. He got the relationship between music and dance. Opera, he just didn't get it. He said, it's just nonsense. And this guy was a respected composer. So, yeah. I just don't get it. It just sounds like people shouting.
Well, I agree. I think the people who like it are often trying just to seem sophisticated. This whole idea that you can't even turn up to an opera without being, in top and tails pretty much, is also somewhat ridiculous. It means it's inaccessible to many people. As for the compositions and also the singers of opera, I think you've got to respect them. To be fair, you have to respect jazz musicians like Miles Davis, etc. as well. But the people that like it, yes, definitely, they're just trying to be sophisticated. I'm with you there. I can actually come up with a long list for this question as well. May I offer another answer?
You certainly can.
So it's similar to the opera, but it's people who like Shakespeare plays. I'm going to go there.
No.
Look, I'm sorry. Shakespeare has about two ideas. He has two ideas. It's either funny or it's tragic. In pretty much every play, there's some sort of ghost. Someone dies, there's a ghost. The ghost influences the main character. The main character is helplessly in love with somebody. That somebody will inevitably commit suicide. And at the end, most people will die.
That's a tragedy. That's what happens in tragedies. You can't have a tragedy where no one dies. It's like, big battle, and they all go, and then they hug at the end or something. Yeah, like Macbeth. Everyone lives happily ever after. You can't have that.
No, but this is the point. He's held up as the epitome of playwrights and did, I don't know, whatever, 40 odd plays, but they're all basically the same thing.
I have a problem with Shakespearean comedies because they seem to be a lot of it is what is it, cross garters and stuff like that. Look, one of his gags, so-called gags, is that someone turns up and they're wearing cross garters.
Oh dear me!
I know. I don't think it was, and it wasn't. It wasn't that original with plots. I think some people say, but the language. If you've ever heard this is why actors are judged on a lot on their ability to perform Shakespeare, is that because it's really difficult to understand these days. If you're an actor and you can make people understand, and someone like Mark Rylance can really bring it to life, you might not literally understand a lot of what he's saying, but just the way he performs it, you really feel it. So that's my defense of Shakespeare. I'm actually defending. I'm opposing your answer.
Wow.
I'm actually going to stop the AI from hearing your answer to that question.
Your defense of Shakespeare is don't read the words, just listening to someone meaningfully espouse those words.
Yes. You're not meant. Don't try and understand it. Just feel it, yeah? Just feel the Shakespeare, feel the vibes.
You know what? I guess somebody's going to come up with that defense for jazz as well.
What you said, well, actually, I mean, does this...
Just feel it.
Can you describe... We're back to do you think I'm sexy, aren't we?
Don't listen, just do it. Just feel it.
So you describe jazz as just the musical equivalent of people talking shit. So is that the same description? It's quite a versatile description, isn't it? Would you say that's the same description of Shakespeare? It's just people talking shit.
That's it. Yeah, you've hit the nail on the head.
You should be the cultural critic for the Times. Every article would be one line. So, I don't know, Coriolanus at the Barbican Theatre. Oh, just people talking shit. Save a fortune in newsprint.
But if they talk shit with passion and feeling, then it's worth seeing.
There you go. Talking shit with feeling. I like that. That's what we do. Talk shit with feeling.
Absolutely.
Good. Well, I think we've covered more than enough to keep the AI happy and to reassure it that we've actually been solving a lot of or providing answers to the questions, most of which no one else would have thought of, I don't think. And people might think of that as a bad thing, but I think that's a good thing that we've come up with original solutions to everything from world politics to jazz. So that's good. So I hope you enjoyed the podcast. And it's goodbye from me.
And it's goodbye from me.
And see and hear you next time. We're not going to see and hear you. You might see us, but you're more likely just to hear us. Shall I do it again or not bother? I won't bother. It won't get any better, will it?
No.
No, okay.
We'll see.
Bye!
Bye.